Welcome to St. Augustine this evening. It is Wednesday, January the 10th. The Mike Davis Show. We're here. We're back. Sorry we were out the last 2 days. I had to take a daughter to the airport in Orlando. And if you've ever dropped someone off at the airport and had them call a minute and a half later and tell you their flight has been potentially moved or canceled, it's quite the fun trip circling back around the airport. But she did get to where she's going or almost there a day and a half, 48 hours later. She's still not there. She's traveling around the world to Australia, but she's almost there. And then yesterday, I'll give that story after we do reads and make a little bit of money because I have to defend ourselves from some good natured ribbing of the morning show.
Yes.
Love those guys. They're all very talented. And I know Barbara Jean had my back the entire time. Or did she? Solar Stick, established in 2006. It's a local portable power company, proudly committed to American manufacturing, constant innovation, and creating jobs right here in St. Augustine, Florida. Solar Stick's focus on providing solutions for self-sufficiency helps users all over the world complete missions and save lives. Solar Stick, changing lives, saving lives, and reviving American manufacturing right here in the nation's oldest city.
That's right. And Powell Heating and Air Conditioning, they are dedicated to customer service, and they have been for the 36 years that they've been in business. And that is evident in everything that they do. From the moment they answer your call until the time they leave your home, they are working to make you comfortable and confident about the care and service you receive from Powell. They have a fleet of 10 plus trucks, 15,000 square foot warehouse stocked with parts and equipment, and they are ready to serve you around the clock. They never close. Their emergency service is always open 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, including nights, weekends, and holidays. They are our preferred heating and air conditioning company, Powell Heating and Air Conditioning. And we also love the team at South State Bank. They are a group of bankers that you can count on. Their approach to building long-term relationships with their customers is the best in the business. If you are looking for a banking relationship that you can depend on, check out South State Bank. They've got 3 locations to serve you in St. Augustine: State Road 312, State Road 16, and the beach. You can check out their website, southstatebank.com. They are a member FDIC.
All right, and Hebert Kresge and Associates. They're a full-service local CPA firm with a team of skilled professionals dedicated to providing top levels of service in the areas of tax compliance, planning for businesses, individuals, estates, and trusts. They can also do audits, reviews, and other accounting services. If you've got a business evaluation that you need, or forensic analysis, or even litigation support, Hebert Kresge and Associates can do all those things. You can reach Bill and Ken at 904-460-0747 or online at HebertKresgeCPA.com. Great folks. I talked to Bill today. He's helping us with a nonprofit that I'm involved in. Wonderful, wonderful folks. So
they are great folks.
They are. And we have to respond, Amanda, before we introduce our guest to the morning show.
It's a mess.
So apparently, because the weather was inclement yesterday, and the National Weather Service told everyone to stay off the roads. You are a mother of small children who needs you desperately.
That is true.
So we didn't want to risk anything happening to you. And then apparently Davey has dogs. And we could not risk Davey's dogs.
No, absolutely not.
Although when I called him to ask about the show, he was screaming he didn't want to come in, and he was walking Toto.
Lies.
Yeah, all lies. Davey was cool about it. But in our defense of the Mike Davis Show, St. Augustine this evening, the last 2 times we have tried to broadcast during inclement weather, we have been knocked off the air.
For sure. It has threatened the survivability of the 904 now. So we didn't want to risk it for everyone's sake. Morning show, afternoon show, everybody. We didn't want to be on air while something exploded or lightning struck. It's too big of a risk.
The last time the Dobbs Demon knocked out a piece of essential equipment and everyone got the day off the next day.
Yes.
So we took one for the team yesterday in not coming in. I was fully prepared to do the show, looking forward to hearing Davey's comments about the Golden Globes and one Miss Taylor Swift.
Yes.
I'm crushed that I didn't get to hear those comments from Davey, and I'll have to wait a week. But just so the morning show could come on this morning without any interruptions, we stayed home. And we just want respect for that. That's all we want from the morning show, is some respect for looking out for them.
Help us help you. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, we understand, you guys are the big draw on this network. We're trying to keep you on the air. My goodness. The things we do for our friends.
Like Rodney Dangerfield.
I know. I get no respect. None. No respect. All right. Someone who deserves a lot of respect
Yes.
is a County Commission District 3 candidate, Clay Murphy. Clay, welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
It's good to have you on. You and I have known each other for some time.
Yes, we
and,
have.
a lot of respect for you and for your family.
Thank you, sir.
Our boys had a lot of good sporting contests against one another
They
back in
sure
the day.
did back in the day. And
yes.
now grandchildren.
Yeah. Well, my
amazing.
grandchildren aren't there yet, but we're working on them. So
I've got 21, 14, 12, and 16 months.
grandchildren.
Grandsons, yeah.
Grandsons.
Yeah.
You've got me beat
boys.
because I'm at 5 months.
That's pretty good.
I got a ways to go. He's gonna have to
I got a
catch up.
chance to spend some time with the youngest one today, and God, they're so sweet. You just want to just
Oh, yeah.
pinch your little cheeks and eat them up. So yeah, it's a blessing.
Yeah, no offense to our kids, but they're a lot more fun than the kids.
They are a lot more fun. You know, I was listening to the show today and this morning, and boy, they were pretty rough on you. They
That's
were tough.
okay. We are tough enough to take it. Some of them are not. We're not going to name names, Troy Blevins, but we're going to leave all that alone.
There's an elephant in the room that we've yet to address that we can see now that you
Yes.
guys are both on there on the screen.
Are we? Okay, good. Okay.
You turn around.
Oh, yes.
We have new art.
New artwork. You still don't know who did that.
I don't know who did it, but thank you. I
Yes.
appreciate it.
That's nice. That's nice. Like
There's
That's
actually
nice.
one other surprise for you the next time I go away.
I saw it already.
Did you see that?
It's in the
Are
file.
you happy with that one as
That
well?
was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So the one for when he goes away is it's really big and you can't see Mike Davis's name at all. So, it's
Which will
good.
probably be some of the most successful shows of the year.
those
Well, yeah.
guys taking care of you. They're all
They
taking care
are.
of you. It's good.
No. They're very good. Blake did all of that.
Oh, Blake's
And
amazing.
Blake was very proud of all of that. He showed it to me last week. I thought it looked awesome. It looked really, really cool.
The boys are probably sick of me sticking tape all over the TV and them having to clean it up. I have a tendency to make messes, so they fixed it, so I don't have to do it anymore.
And then
Fantastic.
we were
Love it.
applauding Blake for finding the same color blue on the tape as the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, we thought that was awesome,
nice.
Blake. Well done.
That is
Yeah,
talent.
that's talent. Not a lot of people can do that, but Blake managed to.
Yeah.
Good job, Blake.
So we're good. You're visiting us for good and bad reasons.
Oh no.
You're running
Yes.
for office, and that's a good and
That's
a bad
a good and a
thing.
bad. It is. It is.
As someone who has run for office, I can tell you it's a good and a bad thing. So
Yeah.
I am glad you are running. I think that's great.
Thank you. I was at a meeting the other day about a proposed workforce housing PUD, and it was brutal. It was brutal. But one of the things that I'm learning in this world of politics is you got to listen to the people. The people are that's the main business, and that's one of the challenges we have in politics today is keeping the main business, and that's taking care of people. So
What were the main comments coming out of that meeting about workforce housing?
No, not here, not in my neighborhood, not here.
Really?
Not until the roads are done. The biggest challenge that most of the people had was the infrastructure in and out. They feel, from what they're telling me, they feel like we are saturated and we need to do something with the roads first.
So is this a development north of Wolgoff Village or south of Wolgoff
No,
Village?
it's in District 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great concept. Workforce housing, we need it. We need it desperately in this county. The challenge is that, just like these neighbors are talking about, I polled, probably 70% of them, and every single one of them was against this development. You can't argue when 200 people show up and 199 and a half are against a project. But workforce housing is important. We have to find ways to do it. But infrastructure is important. We've got to build roads. We need roads.
Well, we've had a rapid increase in residents in the last 4 years.
COVID was a major player in that. It shifted the demographics all over the country. There's no argument about COVID played a huge part in the explosive growth in St. Johns County. So now the question is, how do we respond to that? So that's next.
Yeah, and I have the data. Jesse Spradley at the Northeast Florida Builders Council always sends me the permit data. And it's really pretty amazing when you look at the numbers. And we had such a huge spike in 21 and 22. It started to come down, but it was unbelievable, the number of building permits. I think we, on average, we might have had 6,000 or 7,000 permits.
Yeah.
But now it's crazy what it is.
So I'm kind of, I don't have a building in or a background in building. My background was in law enforcement, and then I'm a restaurateur. So I don't really, there's a huge anti-development push in this county right now, and I'm not riding that wagon, and I'll tell you why. 15 years ago when the bubble hit in 2008, there was a huge need, a huge cry for building. Building was the leg of the economic stool that really got us to where we are today. And so to point the finger at one thing and say, you're the devil, I think is misguided. I think what we really need to do is take a look at why it happened, how we got where we are, where we're overgrown. The roads are not keeping up. We're clear cutting land. There's so many issues that we have to deal with, but I think that we need to deal with it honestly and not emotionally, and we need to, and that's probably going to be a very controversial statement, and I really hope it is, because we really need to talk about the fact that we need solutions. We don't need emotions to the issues that we have here in St. Johns County.
So to kind of give you a long history of that, 2005, there were 4,600 single-family permits in St. Johns County. That dropped in 2009, 9-10. It dropped down to 1,100.
Yeah.
Right. So it dropped.
Huge drop.
Huge drop. Stayed in the 2,000, give or take. 1 year, I think 2013 went up to almost 2,700. Could have been an impact fee increase somewhere in there that drove that. Right. But to give you an example, 2018 was 4,400 permits. 2019 was 4,100 permits in St. Johns County. 5,000 in 2020. Okay, 6,200 in 2021. Again, 5,400, and then 5,100. So it's kind of been about the same, but I think it's just been the influx and how fast some of this stuff has gone, and how much I see a lot more apartments and multifamily than I've seen before in St. Johns County, especially the northern part of the county.
And that's another one of the challenges that we have, is that the infrastructure needs to be there first. I'm not opposed to smart development. We are going to need growth. When I look at the effects of the building industry, period. So here's the thing. There's probably a three-leg stool for the economic health of St. Johns County. There's tourism, there's industry for jobs, and then there's building. We have relied and allowed building to become the dominant economic driver in the county right now. And we're just out of balance. We've got to slow the growth. We've got to put the brakes on it. I think we're in a unique position now to where, as a county, we can now go back and say we're not in the same position we were 15 years ago, where we depended desperately on building for our economic health. I think we're in a lot better place now. So what can we do to replace the fact that we need to slow the building down a little bit with the industry part and the tourism part, and then probably, I don't know, just as important is we can now, as a county, go to developers and say, look, we're going to demand more from you. We're going to demand, and maybe demand's not a good word, but maybe it is, to take another look at the housing developments that you're projecting to build in the future, and how can we fit things that people are going to agree with, bigger buffers, a lack of clear cutting. Clear cutting is not a developer issue. It's deeper than that. But let's go to the roots of that and find out why developers feel like they're forced to clear cut to build houses, because they are. They're forced to do that. So let's go and find out why they're forced to do that. And so let's change it at the root level and not at the emotional level by pointing the finger at a boogeyman about that.
Almost everyone that is here, including my families, came to St. Johns County at some point in time, right? I mean,
mine too.
I get, as someone who, and yes, I'm in the building industry, we don't do production housing. We do a lot of commercial work. We do a lot of historic renovation.
Yeah.
Very few residential projects. When I look at that, right, and I hear people say, well, you shouldn't better, we got to stop this. I'm like, well, what year did you move here? Because if we'd stopped it the year before you got here, you wouldn't be a part of this discussion.
Yeah.
And some of us might be like, wow, we never had this problem.
Yeah.
So I get it. Don't move here and then immediately begin saying we should change this.
Close
this,
the
and
doors.
this. Yeah, don't. That is the most frustrating one to me of all the opinions.
Well, here's the thing, though. We've got over 50,000 houses that have already been approved to be built in St. Johns County. They're already in the books. They've already been voted on. They've already been approved. I think for us now, as the citizens of St. Johns County who are clearly saying they want to slow rampant, out of control growth, I think we have a unique position. We're in a unique position right now to demand a little more. I think environmentalists working together with developers to come up with a community that everybody can live with, I think we should be able to put our foot down and say that's what we want, that's what we need, and that's what we should have.
Yeah, and I think that's part of our problem today, and it's at local politics, and it's at state politics, and it's at the national level in a really bad way, is instead of sitting down and looking at problems and trying to fix them, everybody wants to make a boogeyman out of somebody else, wants to blame someone else for it, right?
Let's deal with the issues.
When in St. Johns County, if you moved here in the last 10 years and you're pointing at someone else for causing growth problems,
Yeah.
there's something in your house called a mirror.
Look,
You're a part of it.
People want to move here because it's an amazing place to live.
Yes.
I discovered it over 30 years ago. Actually, my wife and I will have been in our house next month. 30 years we've been in our home. But I understand people's desire to come here. I really do. And I think it's important for us to stop and think about what we want St. Johns County to look like in 15 years. There's so many issues to deal with, but that's the biggest one. I'm traveling all over the county. I'm talking to everybody that I can, that'll talk to me about it. And that's my first question is, what do you want your government to know? And almost to the man or woman, they say, growth is too fast. We're too big. We don't have the roads. We don't have the infrastructure, and we need to do something there. So when everybody that I talk to is saying that, then we need to listen to that, and we need to start working on that.
All right, before I ask you why you're running, you mentioned you moved here 30 years ago, but you're really a native to this area.
Yeah.
Well, to a certain degree, you're in Palatka.
I remember, I grew up in Palatka. I remember getting, as a 16-year-old, getting run off the beach by Jimmy Russo.
You too?
Yes.
You also?
Me too.
Man, we're in a club.
Yeah, he used to run us off the beach, and he would follow us all the way to DuPont Center to make sure that we headed back to Putnam County back in the day. But that was,
If you were a kid that grew up in the 70s and the 80s,
yeah.
That's a name that still kind of makes you just...
It does.
Yeah.
It does. I do a good Jimmy Russo impersonation, but I won't do it now. But he was a good guy. When I came back as a trooper here in '91, I got a chance to work with him. Sweetheart of a guy, and by happenstance, I married into the family. I didn't marry. My daughter married Richie Irvin, which is Jimmy was his uncle. So a great family, great lovers of St. Johns County. Grew up in Palatka. I was the first graduating class of the Palatka High School Panthers 45 years ago.
Yeah.
Woo. I remember when my dad went to his 45th class reunion, I thought, man, you're old. And,
yes.
And here I am. So.
Oh, no, I remember that. Mom and Dad were, I think, their 30th or just 30th, 35th or something, and they didn't come home. Right, they were out with all their friends. And in St. Augustine back in 1983 or 4, when that happened, it must have been 84, it's 35th. Yeah. And I knew there was 2 places they might be. One was the hospital, and the other was the Village Inn.
Oh, the Village Inn.
So I went to the Village Inn, and they were all there with their friends. And I looked at them, I said, your curfew was 45 minutes ago.
Excuse me, Mom and Dad.
You young people, when you come home, we'll be talking about this. You're both grounded, by the way.
Yeah, you're both
And I just walked, all their friends were laughing. Right? I'm like, you could have called, right?
Yeah.
I believe the rule is if you're going to be late, you got to call. And this was before cell phones, right? You had to find a phone to make a phone call.
I remember trying that with my dad, and he just looked at me and said, don't tell Granddaddy what to do. I said, yes, sir. So
I had both of them. They're like, how did you find us? I said, well, like I said, 2 places.
Yeah, 2 places.
You're going to be 1 of 2 places at that point in time. If they had gotten in trouble somebody from the police department would have called.
They'd have called.
They'd have called me. They'd have said, "Hey, by the way, your parents are here."
Yes, I remember getting run in.
Not that my parents ever got in trouble.
I remember getting run to the police station in the mid '70s, but that's a story for another show. But,
so how did you get to Palatka? How did your family end up?
well,
in
my
Palatka?
daddy was a JCPenney manager, so we transferred all over. I'm the fourth of 5 kids, and we were all born, Lakeland, Panama City. I was born in Middlesbrough, Kentucky. My sister was born in Cedartown, Georgia. Then we moved to Tupelo, Mississippi, and went to Elvis Presley Park as a kid. That was so cool. But we moved to Palatka in 1971 when my daddy got the store here in Palatka, and he stayed until he retired. But I started in law enforcement in the 70s as a dispatcher for Walt Pellissier over in Putnam County, if you remember Walt Pellissier. Went to the sheriff's office in Jacksonville as a dispatcher, and then joined the patrol as a trooper and did 26 years there. The first 9 years and 16 days were in Miami, but who's counting?
You didn't mention hours and minutes. So.
Well, I've got that too. So, but I came back in 1971. In 91. Golly, the years are flying by. Blessed to transfer to St. Augustine, and met my wife 4 weeks later. 4 weeks after I transferred, almost to the day, I walked into Sonny's and she waited on me. So
Sonny's is a love affair for you, Tim.
Oh, it's part of our DNA. Pammy started there as a cashier back in the 80s, and now she's the franchisee. We are, but she is. Yeah. She's the engine that drives that. And because of her work ethic and because of her passion for Sonny's, we got an opportunity to buy in when I retired. So retired in 2008 from the patrol, and bought a third of the company. And then in 2015, we bought our partners out, which was Sonny, the original Sonny Tillman. Sonny's been a good friend of ours for a long time, and he's still doing good. He's 94, still doing good. But
where was it? Was the original store in Gainesville?
Yeah, right on 24 there, just south of the airport. So,
wow.
So it's really cool to be friends with Sonny Tillman because he is such a fascinating guy. He's a fascinating guy to talk to.
Yeah. No, we had a lot of St. Augustine people that would go there before Gator games and after Gator games, and yeah.
People come into Sonny's all the time and they say, man, I remember when I went to the University of Florida and back in the day, and we all had to go to Sonny's for all-you-can-eat chicken. And he said one time Sonny came out and said, y'all are fixing to eat us out of business. Y'all need to slow down on eating all this chicken. So, but they've all got Sonny stories from going to school there.
Now, and you have right now one out on State Road 16.
One store looking to build a second. It's in the works. I'm not a building guy, so my challenge is trying to jump through all the hoops to get this done. So, but we're working on it.
Well, and that's the thing we kind of talked a little bit about building before. There's this misconception that as builders or developers, you walk into the county and you go, I want to build a house or I want to do a subdivision of 300 homes, and the county just goes, just let us know when you're done.
Just let us know.
And that is not how it goes.
No.
I mean, it is a lengthy process. It takes a long time.
We're working on getting a drive-through at the one out by the interstate.
Yes.
And it has been such a long process. We're now going to where we sit down with the county and with the different departments, and they tell us what all you have to do just to put a drive-through in. And so, but I respect the process. The building department here and the fire department here has been wonderful to us over the years, and so no complaints. But
Howard Wright runs one of the best building departments in the state, if not the best building department in the state.
Yeah.
During COVID, they stayed open.
Yeah.
They kept issuing permits. They kept doing inspections. There were building departments in South Florida that would not review plans. So people were trying to go to work, trying to put people to work, trying to keep food on the table, would not review plans and would not do inspections, and basically left their communities kind of high. Howard White and his staff do an absolutely wonderful job.
We are so blessed to have an amazing building department, and if I had a magic wand, I would go in there and change absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he's great. Fire department, they're doing a good job. They've had some ups and downs over the last more in plan review than anything else, and I know a lot of the folks over there. They're good people. I think at times they got overwhelmed by just the volume of growth.
Yeah, we work good with the fire department. We actually got plans for the US 1 location to to remodel it. We went through the permitting process and got permits for it. The fire department was amazing to work to work with. They were probably the toughest of the bunch, but you know, I really want I want these plans to be right. I want them to do it right. So.
Yeah, and I've worked in a lot of other municipalities. St. Johns County is the best one to work in. It's not always the easiest one, but in my mind, if you have your stuff together and you know what's required and you turn that in, they're the most efficient.
Yeah, I'm in relationship with guys and girls and ladies that were that have built Sunnies all over the Southeast, and they're envious of St. Johns County. I'm not. I mean, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
we're real happy to be here.
And I think that, you know, the problem with the overall development is really the civil side of it, right? It's all of those things that go into. It's the roads, it's the water retention, it's all of the amount of time someone comes to us with a commercial project and they're like, well, I'd like to build this in 6 months. We go, well, it'll take 6 to 9 months to get through that side of the permitting.
Just the civil part.
Yeah, just the civil part. I mean, that's the people look at me like, no, that's how long we're going to be talking about this.
It's important. We have to worry about drainage. We have to worry about roads. And, you know, I think I've been critical of past commissions, and probably unfairly, because they were dealing with what they had to deal with at the time. And they did the best they could with what they had and the information that they had. Today, I think the situation's differently. I think we have a different focus, or should have a different focus when it comes to building. We have outrun our coverage, and we need to backtrack, and we need to build some streets.
So you bring a unique kind of perspective to your run. You've been in law enforcement for a long time. You've been a business owner for a long time. How do you think that helps or hurts you as a county commission candidate?
Well, I spent 26 years of my life dealing with emergency situations. Whatever came up, whether it was a bad guy or a bad girl or situation or a bad wreck or having to make notification. Anytime you learn to deal with high stress situations. And so I think that's one of my strengths, is being able to come into a high stress situation and see the 30,000 foot view and be able to put pieces into place to get things done. One of the lessons that I learned in business is, and this was a very hard lesson, and I'll tell you, I'll try to be quick. I ended up calling my troop commander back after I'd been retired about 5 years and apologized to him. I said, Major Gene Gracie, what a wonderful guy. I said, I'm sorry. I said, I had no clue about a lot of things when I was a young trooper running around the streets. You know, I thought that when they sent an edict down from Tallahassee, the lightning bolt, you got to go do this. And I thought, boy, that just doesn't make any sense. And it wasn't until I was an employer myself with over 100 employees that I realized that there was so much more information that goes into making those decisions that affect my employees that I have to consider as a business owner that I didn't have to consider when I was just an employee. And it really, really, I grew up a lot having to do that. And
did he chuckle or laugh a little bit at that?
Oh, he sure did. He said, boy, he said I was a real pain in the behind. So, but we're great friends now. And we were he was a great boss then, but I really learned, this job is literally about dealing with people. You can melt it all down to, as a county commissioner, we're supposed to be taking care of people, and it doesn't matter whether they're in your district or whether they're in your party or whether they're in your club. They're people that live here in St. Johns County, and that's our job. Hopefully it'll be my job next year to take care of people and their needs. And it can be anything from, the people aren't picking up the garbage out in front of this guy's house, which I talked to a guy with today. I'm driving all over the county, and I said, what's important? He says, I can't get my garbage picked up. And I said, well, I was at the meeting a couple of months ago when they're changing vendors. So, let me see what I can do. I don't know what I can do yet, but yeah. But that's the important thing, is we need to be available. We need to answer the phone. We need to answer the emails, and we need to take care of people.
Well, and you mentioned one thing, and it's not, and I think you're on board with it, but it's not just all those different people. It's the people that maybe support you and vote for you, and they don't. Once you're an elected official, you represent them all.
You represent them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got jumped at a meeting the other day. Where do you stand on this? Well, I don't know. I really want to listen to what they have to say before I make a decision. Well, you're not for this, and I'm like, whew, here it comes. I said, well, no, I really want to listen to the facts first. And we did share the same opinion when it was over with, and that we were able to have a great discussion about it when the meeting was over. I said, but until I get the facts, I refuse to rush in because my emotions are tickled by an event. We've got to get the facts. We've got to really figure out what's really going on here, and let's find valuable solutions that can apply to the situations that we have instead of. I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm not a politician, so I'm gonna do it anyway. And in Washington, they'll bring a $500 billion bill to the floor, and it'll have one little tiny part in it about the military, and the rest of it is crap. So when you vote it down, they say, oh, you obviously don't like the military. And that's untruth. That's a lie. It's a bunch of hogwash, and I'm not going to fall for it, and I'm going to look at the whole thing, and we're going to do what's right for St. Johns County and not the feel-good stuff. The feel-good stuff's important, but it's got to make sense for St. Johns County. And if it doesn't, you can't support it.
So if you're elected, what are some of your goals? What are some of the things you'd like to work on? We talked a little bit about growth, but what else is out there?
Well, so Paul Waldron was a friend of mine, and we were actually in business together. He was my landlord for the entire time I was in Sonny's. He was my landlord up until the day he passed, as a matter of fact. We would have conversations, and I would tell him, I really love to run for county commissioner when you're done. I would never run against him, but when you're done, I'd love to. And I would ask him, what's important to you? The things that were really, really important to Paul were parks. He felt like boat ramps and parks where people have an opportunity to enjoy what we have here is very important to him. But there was another thing that really piqued my interest. Paul Waldron was our champion. He was literally the taxpayer's champion. He was a great county commissioner, but he had a thing about, when developers would come back and say, okay, we got this approved 10 years ago. We want to change this. If you let us do this, we'll do that. And there was never any follow-up to that. Who was following up to make sure that they went through with what they promised to do to get concessions on something that to be changed? And that was a big priority for Paul. And so it's going to be a big priority for me, is that we hold people accountable, like State Road 16. All I have to do is say State Road 16 west of I-95 is it's a tragedy the way they've allowed the building to go on without the roads to be done first. The roads should have been done first, and they weren't. And I applaud this commission for holding those developers to the fire when it comes to doing what they agreed to do 10, 15 years ago. That I was very, very proud of them when they did that.
Well, I think there's a lot of developers that wish they'd done the roads first now based on what the roads cost today versus what they cost 10 years ago.
COVID has changed how we do business. Anyway, for me, our plan, our grand scheme was on the Sunny side was to purchase the property from the Waldrons at 16 and remodel, and then go do it at US 1. COVID completely destroyed that. When costs, construction costs go from $600,000 for a total remodel to $1.8 million for the same thing, I don't know how people survive. We hung on by our fingernails. I mean, we're blessed. We're blessed today, but that was a tough time for everybody. So
now, if you were running a business back, there's a lot of uncertainty. We're making a lot of decisions without a lot of good information.
Yeah,
there was a lot of nervousness all throughout. Clients, workers, subcontractors, suppliers. Everybody was dealing with it.
Yeah.
And then when it finally started going back, kind of picking back up, you're like, well, wait a minute, prices are skyrocketing, and I can't find anybody to come in and work. Right, it was quite an interesting.
Pam and I literally for 2 years before the US 1 store closed, we probably worked 12-hour days, 7 days a week. It was just like when we remodeled 16. We were only supposed to be closed for 5 days, but that turned into 37 days. So we literally worked 16 hours a day, 7 days a week until that project got open. It was the same thing. You know, I would come to work in the mornings, and you know, if I didn't have a dishwasher, I was the dishwasher. You know, I tell everybody, you know, when I meet them, hey, how you doing? Oh, you work at Sonny's. What do you do? I'm the dishwasher. Because, you know, 9 times out of 10, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was the prep guy. I was the dishwasher. I was the busser, you know, whatever you have to do in a business. And I'm going to bring that same kind of devotion to the county commission. You know, whatever needs to be done. I know it's technically a part-time job, but for me, it's never going to be a part-time job. It's going to be a full-time job starting out of the gate.
Yeah. Now, Amanda, you got questions?
So I'm just looking over your website here, and I want to show everybody your beautiful family. So
thank you.
looks like your grandsons. You told us the age of all of your grandsons. I think that was before we went on the air. So you have 3 sons.
I have 2 sons and a daughter.
Okay.
I think that's my daughter in the red.
In the
Alicia.
red? All right.
Yep. She's married to Richie Irvin. His daddy was Dickie Irvin.
Irvin, yep.
You remember him?
I do, yep.
There's a story for another time about how he was the reason. We didn't know him, and we didn't know that our kids were going to be married one day, that he was the reason how we got into our home. It's a long story, but beautiful family. I'm so blessed. Everybody lives right here in St. Johns County except for my oldest grandson, Brock. Brock's going to school in Orlando. He's a brilliant kid.
Yeah.
Graphic design at UCF. But I'm proud of all my children and outlaws and in-laws, and really blessed.
So your website is claymurphyforstjohns.com. And can they can learn more about you here? Can they sign up to volunteer for your campaign here?
They can. They could just click the donate button, and they are more than happy to donate if they want to see if they believe in what we're trying to do. It's important, but there's also a place to volunteer on there. Yard signs.
So see the donate button on that header.
Yep.
And we can contact you for any questions. Anybody that has any follow-ups.
I answer my own emails, and the campaign phone's usually in my pocket. So
okay, fantastic. And, I just want everybody to know where they can learn more about you and where they can give money, where they can help out.
Well, I really appreciate that, and I appreciate the time on here. I know that that your time is valuable, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I feel like one of the things that I kind of a message out to those that watch and follow is we're going to have a lot of candidates that are going to be on. We want them to come on. There's not a lot of venues for you to touch people today. And one of the things that always frustrated me is someone said, well, I never get to know the candidates. Well, all you got to do is go to any number of events. Now, COVID shut that down. And so for those couple of years.
No, we're back now.
But there's all kinds of political events. There's all kinds of rallies. There's all kinds of places. You were at Jimmy Jam this weekend. If you pay attention, those candidates are out there. If you want to meet with somebody, all you have to do is call them. If you have a question, email them. There's so many ways that you can get in touch with a candidate today. So when you say nobody tried, believe me, they're trying to meet you right now between now and the primary. And they're doing their darndest to do that. And if you want to know who they are,
I tell people,
now's the time.
I'll go anywhere and talk to anybody. I'll sit down and talk to anybody regardless of what it is. You know, I've had people already criticize me because they don't know where I stand on things. And I'm like, there's 2 things that I would say to that. One is all you have to do is ask me, and I'll tell you. I don't have the good sense to shut up half the time. Just ask my wife; she'll tell you. But the second thing is that one of the things that my dear sweet campaign advisor told me when we started this thing, she goes, "Don't give yourself away too soon. You know, wait till this thing kind of matures in, and let your ideas be your own ideas, and not get them out so soon so that they become everybody else's ideas too." And it made a lot of sense to me. So a lot of times, my job is to listen. And if you want to know how I feel, ask, because I'll meet with you. I'll talk to you. I'll answer the phone, you know, whatever you need.
Go ahead.
We do have a burning question from the audience.
A huge burning question.
Bobby wants to know if the salad bar is ever coming back to Sonny's.
I fought tooth and nail to save the salad bars. I even asked them if we could have a salad bar at the downtown location and do away with it at the interstate location, and it was shot down. I will tell you that we were told that the salad bars wouldn't come back unless there was a huge outcry, and there is becoming a groundswell of supporters for the salad bar. And I'll tell you, I still have the salad bar in storage, so I'm not going to tell you to contact sunnysbbq.com and say bring the salad bar back, but if there was a groundswell, we're ready. We're
right.
ready.
So, Bobby, if you want it back, you got some work to do.
You got some work to do. Call me and
Yes.
no, not me.
And Bobby, forget where you got that information.
Forget
about
where you heard that.
Yes.
That did not happen.
No.
I can hear Pam right now going, I can't believe he said that.
Listen, I as someone who I like a salad too, right? But when I go to Sonny's, I want other than a salad. So when you guys got rid of salad bar, I was really proud of you guys.
Yeah. Well, we really have good salads out there.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll
good.
tell you, for me, it's sliced pork. You get sliced pork thin, that's the filet mignon of the hog, and that's it for me. So I love it.
No, I think that is. I think that's Sonny's has always had great food. It's always had great people, whether it's a US 1 store or the one at 16. You guys have always done a really, really good job.
We've got great competition in this town. We've got some great people doing some great barbecue here, and we're not afraid of that. I actually embrace it. I'm of the beliefs that a rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
And if we're in competition with each other, that means that we're doing our best. And I've been known to sneak out to the river a time or two. Don't tell nobody. So.
Well, and I look at that. And people would be, are you in competition with other builders? Like, no, there's things I can't do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if everybody that came to town wanted barbecue had to go to Sonny's, you guys would be dead in 2 days, right? You would wear yourselves out with the line.
Yeah, we've been really blessed. This
Yeah.
community has supported us in so many ways. Now, we've been blessed to be able to give back a lot over the years. But the community has really made us who we are. Being able to move from a public service job like in the Highway Patrol into a service industry job has been a real blessing for me. It really has.
All right, so jokingly, first day that you're at Sonny's that you reached for your service piece, and you're like, I'm in private sector, I can't.
I'm in private sector. I'm sorry, I can't help you. So
No, I had that had to have been quite the change to go from being out on the road, eating at places like Sonny's all the time, and thinking this is how I would run it if I ran it, and then all of a sudden you're behind the counter and you're running it. Well, when they let you out from behind the dishwashing.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, the biggest challenge for me was the adrenaline issue. I went from being a trooper, and then I was the pilot for the patrol for about 5 years. So I was flying airplanes, and then I went back onto the motors, and I rode a police motorcycle for the last 6 years. And coming out of that, standing in the front door and shaking people's hands, I lasted about 2 months before I looked at my wife and I said, I got to go turn some gas into noise or I'm going to go crazy. So, but I've adjusted over the years. It's been about 15 years now. And, being in my early 60s now, it's kind of mellowed me a little bit. So
of all the jobs in Sonny's, what's your favorite one? Of all the jobs that involve the restaurant? And why you're thinking, so my dad, we all grew up cleaning up job sites, right?
Yeah.
My grandfather owned the business. My dad grew up doing that. And you eventually kind of worked your way up. We could tell when my dad was frustrated at work because he would grab a broom and go clean the back stairs at the office. And we'd all look at each other and go, who's he mad at? Right? We don't know who he's mad at. But when he starts grabbing that broom, we're in trouble. So is there something that you do? You go, this is just
I got to where I loved washing dishes because you could literally, mentally pull the curtain closed and go do your thing. And for me, it was a challenge because I wanted people to walk in and go, oh, Mr. Clay did those because they're clean. And I wanted to hold them. I wanted to raise that standard for cleanliness because, there's only a few things you can really mess up in a restaurant business, and not having your place clean, not having good food, or not having good service. There's 3 legs, and if you mess one of those up, you're in trouble. So I wanted to challenge those guys, and when they came in and washed dishes, that it had to be as good or better than me. So so it was that was my favorite, I guess.
Dishes at a commercial restaurant are a lot of fun. So you get that high pressure water hose and you rack them all up.
That was the funnest part.
Through the machine. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's messy and that's a good,
and listen,
good spot.
I would be in the office and I would hear one of my dishwashers and he'd go slam the door shut and I'd go, oh, and I'd walk out there and I'd go, I'm sorry, baby. He didn't mean to slam you that hard. He didn't mean to slam you that hard. And I'd give him a look like, take care of the machinery. Everything costs money in the restaurant.
Well, also, if you break the machine, you're hand washing all these dishes. You want to do that? I don't think so.
And I'm paying for it, not you. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Andy, who has Anastasia Diner, said he gets on the grill whenever things get bad. So now I know when I walk in, if Andy's grilling something, he's stressed.
Yeah. There was a good group of guys out at the Jimmy Jam. That was a lot of fun. Ned came, and Andy Viola came out, and his lovely bride. There was a lot of people out there that were doing chowder testing. Then I saw them all huddled out in the back. I was on the trash crew. We were dumping trash. That was. It was funny. It was
They were
so
trying
funny.
to prepare you if you're elected.
They were, and the truth of that is I was trying to keep up with the trash crew, and people would say, "Hey, come over here, and you got to meet somebody." And I'm like, "I got to go dump trash. I can't talk right now." And it was like,
Have them walk
it
with
was,
me.
yeah, it was a
Yes.
challenge. But the Jimmy Jam, what an event,
I think
Tim.
they
And
raised over $100,000 is
they
what I heard.
netted over $100,000. I heard. I'm
Wow.
so excited for those guys. You know,
Good job, Tim.
Pammy and I can say that I won the very first Jimmy Jam contest, and we've been a very small part of the Jimmy Jam every year.
Yeah.
Being sponsors now, and then we help with judging for years until it's big time now. It's this year was KCBS. Kansas City Barbecue Association, and they had they're top notch. They had 71 teams, and they had a 26 team waiting list to get into this thing. Biggest event this side of the Mississippi, right here in St. Johns County. And the
Congratulations.
turnout was amazing.
Even though it was rainy and
Muddy. I got a little mud on the truck, but it was a great contest.
Yeah.
That's a
Great
good
event.
day when you get mud on the truck.
So I'm just going to butt in here. Bobby also mentioned that he wants you to tell him to keep the corn nuggets. But I'm going to tell you, Bobby, personally, just for me, that you can go to sunnysbarbecue.com. And if you scroll all the way down, there's a little contact you button. So all the way down here, contact us, and then you can let them know all about the salad bar and the corn
There you
nuggets.
go. There you
all
go.
on your
And I
own.
didn't have
It's just
anything to do
right
with
there.
it.
I personally am letting you guys know that you can do that if you want to save the salad bar and the corn nuggets at Sunny's.
Corn nuggets are staying. They're
Okay.
they're an amazing product. We've been so blessed that generally situations like when you have a corporate office like this, there's a little bit of disharmony. But I've been so proud of the corporate side and the job that they do, trying to bring the best product to the table that they can. They're sticklers about the brand and how we need to look and how we need to do things, but they put a lot of work into research and development.
Yeah.
And a lot of the items that they're selling, I really like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And now, you can also put in there about the bowls. Bring the bowls back. The bowls are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I was so shocked when I thought that was the dumbest thing until I tasted a brisket bowl, and I'm like, wow, that was good.
I was not a bowl person either at our house until my wife made one and she handed it to me. I was like, okay, I got to
Okay.
admit, these are all right. I get it.
Same thing with me.
I
It was the same
now.
thing. I was like, this is amazing. It was amazing.
Well,
So-
I had a client that wanted to meet today and a friend that said, let's meet somewhere. Where do you want to go for lunch? And we went to a Thai restaurant. I've never been to a Thai restaurant before. It's like, you've never been to a Thai restaurant. I said, well, no. Well, how can you not go to a Thai? I said, well, first of all, I'm from the South, right? If it's not grilled or fried, right, you're kind of losing me
Or
right
smoked,
there. Right?
yeah.
I'm just, there's ways that you cook food, and this is it. And the food was good. I enjoyed my meal. I will say that, but
I can't say that I've ever had Thai either.
I said, I've never been. Well, how can you never have been? Because I'm not.
Because I'm from the South.
And then Darcy does not eat fish. She's like, well, haven't you had sushi before? I'm like, no, Darcy won't eat fish. Well, why won't she? Because she doesn't like fish. I mean, I got to cook the fish outside. I'm not even allowed to cook my fish inside the house.
Same.
I got to cook outside.
Same rules in our house.
You got kicked out of the house too?
I don't like fish. So Louis got kicked out.
Ah, okay.
And so Gavin is my one kid that likes fish. And so he and his dad will go out and they will cook fish.
I did
I'm inviting Louis and Gavin over to the house.
I
Yeah.
did a salmon on the Traeger, and it turned out really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've got some members of the family that when they come over, they're not meat eaters, and I'm like, we have a vegetarian recovery center right down the street in Sunny's, but I cooked fish, and I was very pleasantly surprised. The salmon
Yeah.
turned out great.
Awesome. My husband got a new grill for Christmas, and it has this bay rotisserie. And so he's done a lot of steak on the rotisserie, and that's been delicious. We've had lots of rotisserie steak, very seasoned, slow cooked on the rotisserie. It's very juicy.
I just got something from the SCA, the state competition people. They put competitions on all over the country. I won a competition last year at the National Barbecue and Grillers Association.
Nice.
I won a golden ticket to the finals. It's right in the middle of campaign season, so I don't think I'm going to be able to go. But I'm going to get my name on the back of a T-shirt that says I was a golden ticket winner. So it was pretty cool.
And a much better one than the Willy Wonka golden ticket. Much because it had
better.
meat involved in it.
Yeah,
For sure.
I actually won a bedazzled cowboy hat, and I have to go to San Antonio, Texas, and defend my crown. So my
All right.
bedazzled.
Suddenly, Davey is jealous.
All right.
Suddenly, Davey is jealous.
I think I need to bring it to the show.
Yeah,
and
you
let
better
him
bring
wear
that
it
to the
one
morning
day.
show
sure.
and show that to Davey.
Yeah,
yes.
David can wear it. It's funny. It's so cheesy. It's such a cheesy rhinestone kind of fake rhinestone cowboy hat that they do, but it's a very. I mean, the NBBQA is worldwide, and guys come from all over the world and compete, and it's classes and stuff like that. But to win the hat is a very coveted prize, and the fact that I stumbled my way into winning that thing is a real shocker. But it's a cheesy hat, but everybody wants the hat.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to win it.
Who were the judges at Jimmy Jam this week? Did you say that the people out of
KCBS, they were official KCBS judges.
Wow. Troy Blevins really did get fired.
Yeah.
Troy
He
got
got
fired.
demoted because he was a judge a few years ago and was very, very
He sure
proud of
was.
being a judge a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I did the judging class, and I cooked a couple years for the judging class for last year when they did FBA, the Florida Barbecue Association, did it last year.
Yeah.
But my wife and I have been KCBS judges for about 10 years, and it's a professional organization, and it's probably going to take Jimmy Jam. I don't know how you can get much bigger than it is, but
That's awesome.
but I would love to see it go to the next level. We've been talking about that for years. So
Barbara Jean, since you're commenting on Davey's comment about the hat, I just need to know, did you have my back this morning? Were you quiet? Did you defend me? Did you cheer them on over last night? So, just curious, Barbara Jean, just let me know. And I'm asking for a friend, and her name is Amanda. So anything else you want to talk about? We got about 5 more minutes.
oh, there's a plethora of things to talk about, but maybe you can just have me back.
We'd love to have you back,
Yeah.
right? And again, I really feel like that the 904 now, thanks to Pete and everyone else, does a great job of getting candidates on here. Because
I got a chance to go on the early show.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's on his website.
It's on his website.
I'm not going to say it hurt my political career. I'm just going to say that. No, I'm just teasing.
This is the recovery for the morning show. So if you're a candidate and you go to the morning show, this is where we do the recovery. The morning show recovery is here in the afternoon. No.
Love you, Pete.
No,
Love you,
those
Troy.
guys are great.
Love
They
you,
really
David.
do an amazing job
They do.
because it's so hard right now. We really don't have a newspaper anymore.
And
you don't have a
yeah,
newspaper that anyone
there's
reads
no
anymore.
reporters.
There's no place out there for people to get information. Pete does a great job. There's a lot of candidate interviews coming up later this year on the 904 now that'll all get dropped. And, that's not an easy thing to do when you're a staff of Pete.
Well, let me give him a warning. Davey asks really good questions. He understands the issues, and he's not afraid to ask you the tough ones. I was expecting some real tough ones today from you guys, but Davey's he's a tough interviewer. He asks great questions, and I was really pleasantly surprised by that.
So when we ask you, what department do you want to cut from the county, you were worried about that one?
Yeah, get the whole thing.
Just get the whole thing. Just not
cut.
a little bit, not a
No,
small
cut the
cut,
whole
just
thing.
one entire department gone.
Yeah, there's
It's not going to be parks because Paul Waldron told him not to.
No,
Yeah.
it's not going to be parts. I got a chance to go out to the groundbreaking for the PAL thing out on the dump. I just call it dump road. I've always called it dump road. It's going to be an amazing facility, and I was so proud of it. My son-in-law Richie is on the board for PAL, and he's coached and done all these things for his boys. For years. We've got 30 years of coaching and doing all the things that we do in St. Johns County sports for these kids, between his dad and me, and now Richie, and now Connor with the son. He'll be in a few short years he'll be doing it too. So really, really proud of that facility out there and how they're going to get something that's going to be top notch for our kids.
Well, and we talked earlier about people moving in, right, into the community. And I kind of hit them pretty hard about, hey, part of the growth is the people that have moved in here. But a lot of these new people volunteer. And the ones that volunteer, thank you for volunteering and getting involved in a positive way.
Yeah.
Right? Getting
We've got some
involved in
great
throwing rocks inside glass houses isn't positive, but getting involved in all these different organizations, whether it's a nonprofit, whether it's youth sports, whatever it happens to be, that's how you get to meet all your neighbors, and that's how you learn things.
Well, I can tell you, I don't think we have enough time to discuss the biggest issues that I'm dealing with on the campaign trail. I can just tell you that, I've lived here a long time. I know a lot of people. Mm-hmm. Some of the people that I know are developers. They are, and they're good friends of mine. One in particular that I get some pushback on that was a major contributor to my campaign, is one of the biggest, most generous people in the county. He gives more money away, does more for our local charities, and is a brother in Christ. And so when people try to criticize me about taking money from a developer, it kind of, and maybe this is a good opportunity to say, it kind of angers me a little bit, because my friend is a great human being, but when it comes to influence on the county commission, he has the same influences as the person who would never donate to me and is on the opposite party. Because if you're not people of character, then you don't need to be on this board anyway. And if people think that I'm not a man of character, then don't support me. But if
well, and you're talking about Chris Shee, who we do an end of the year show. Chris was a recipient of Chris and the Tringali Barn of our Business of the Year because of what they did and how much they gave back. There, people that criticize Chris without recognizing the hundreds of thousands of, if not millions of dollars that Chris has given back to charities and has worked hard to do, shame on you for that. Yeah. Because we having lived here in St. Augustine, in 1 year, Chris is able to raise more money for charities out of things that he does than people in St. Augustine when I was a kid could raise in 15 years.
Yeah, in 1 year. In one event.
In one event. So hats off to him for doing that.
No, we worked together. I was the board chair for Alpha Omega for about 10 years, Alpha Omega Miracle Home. And when he came on board, and that's when we really got supercharged. I've got a lot of respect for him. But just to make the record clear, he has the same influence as you do. And or anybody else. Even though I have great respect for him, I have a lot of friends and great respect for a lot of people in this community, and they all get the same vote, the same influence.
Right. Website is once again
Clay Murphy for St. John's.
Right. Amanda, anything else? I don't want to leave you out.
No, I'm here. I'm asking the questions that I think of. It's a slow day for me. I went to the dentist. So I'm sorry. I didn't have Davy level questions for you today.
Darn.
But I'm happy that you're here. And if I come up with a question, I know where to find it on your website. I can scroll down to the bottom and I can contact you there.
Shoot me an email and I'll respond just as quick as I can. Absolutely. My wife says I spend way too much time reading and answering emails. So I'm like, but it's important.
It is important.
Yeah, you need to let them know that's part of the new job.
That's part of it. So.
That's part of the job from now until primary day, answering questions. Because if you don't, again, it's really difficult to get in touch. People have a hard time finding candidates. Yeah. That email, those messages, being able to contact their boards, being able to watch shows like this is huge, because if you don't have that, people don't know who they're voting for.
Well, I've had people just call me up and say, hey, what do you believe? And I said, well, let's go to breakfast or let's go to coffee and let's go sit down and we'll sit across the table from each other. And I would love to do that with anybody that needs to.
Bring a group.
Yeah, get a whole bunch at once.
A whole bunch at one time. Bring
Don't
4
work
or 5
that way.
of your friends. No, it never works. It's always one.
It never works that way.
And it's bad. I always enjoyed those conversations. I enjoyed getting to know what people wanted out of their government.
Yeah.
And you could have 2 or 3 neighbors that could have 3 views that were so, it's like, do you guys ever talk to each other? Because they're so opposed to one. One would be A is the only way. The next one would be G is the only way. And then Z is the only way.
And we just divided like that. I'm trying to find a good way. We seem to be becoming polarized, even within the Republican Party. We're very, very polarized, and we have to come together. We have to come together, not just for the county, but for the state and for the country.
It is absolutely detrimental to the country, where we are right now, where we might be headed in 2024, and arguing over some things that, to me, if you sat down and actually tried to reason them out and figure them out and come up with a plan to fix it,
most of us would be on the same page.
A whole lot more productive.
Well, let me tell you what it's like. It's like being on a train going over the cliff and worrying about whether or not you got the right fork or spoon for your soup as the train's going off the cliff. Let's worry about stopping the train from going off the cliff first before we worry about what soup spoon we're using.
Yes.
So, important issues.
Yes.
So.
All right. Clay, thank you very much. We look forward to having you back.
Thank you, Mike.
Good luck on the campaign trail, and we'll see you later. We'll be back tomorrow night. The Blevins boys will be here. We got trivia tomorrow night. We have a whole bunch to talk about that we missed out. So, yes.
Busy day. Bye, guys.
Busy day. Bye, guys.